Hi, it's Helen Tarrant. Welcome to another episode of Commercial Property Roadshow with Helen Tarrant. I am in the Grand Canyon. I am in Arizona. I've just flown in here through the helicopters through Las Vegas, and it's about to be sunset, so it is actually truly beautiful. You can see that it's just magnificent, and really when you come in through the gorges, you start thinking, about thinking big, and about also many years ago, people had a vision, especially when I look at in Las Vegas, it was 50 years ago was a desert. This place, thousands of years in creation. So I like to really spend this time and talk about a little bit about the mindset around commercial property, about how you can get started, how you can win deals. Now, I am a firm belief that every deal that is worth getting is worth fighting for. So you really have to imagine that in your head, that every single commercial deal that is worth it is worth fighting for. Now, we're in a state where we're going to see a very heated commercial market for the next few years. We're going to see a hot market because there's so many people that are losing yields and returns and cash flow in the residential space, and they want to make that up in the commercial space as well. So what that's going to result is a lot of people jumping into the market and just buying anything, right? And what that's going to mean is that in a few years, these people are going to get totally burnt. Now, there's a way you cannot be burnt in this, and that's about spending just a little bit of time. I'm not saying that, and definitely don't spend hours and days analyzing a deal, but just spend an hour, 1 hour going through it, do some preliminary research, and then really the next step is action. So the next thing is really about putting your foot on the accelerator and hitting go, right? And the reason you want to hit go is because any deal that is worth doing is worth fighting for. So that means that any deal you see that has an appropriate yield, any deal that you see that you think, okay, this deal might actually work out for me, or that it's at a great location, the tenant, and you're thinking, okay, well, should I be going for a 7% or 7.5% or 8%? And really sometimes the difference is 0.25% or 0.5%. You got to think long term. Think long term, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years from now. If you want to own that property, the things you could do to that with that property could mean that you don't actually need to worry about a little bit up front. So sometimes sacrificing something a little bit up front can mean that in the future you gain again and again. And this is typical in properties in metro areas, especially when I look at properties in Sydney and Melbourne, and these properties might be 5% yields or 6% yields. Now, the reason you hold that is for capital growth. You're looking 10 years, 15, 20 years into the future. Now, if you're chasing cash flow, sometimes you've got to balance out the risk with the actual return. So sometimes you see that the risk might be 8%, 8.5%, and you might be great. But remember, if that property takes an extra 6 months or 9 months to tenant, you might as well take a property that's 7.5%. That's going to take 3 months to tenant. See, sometimes that little bit of 0.5% can make a major difference. So when you go and look for a commercial property and you think that even 80% of the deal starts to stack up, I mean, the location is great, the tenant has an established history, the purchase price is right, the returns are right. Now, I want you to put your foot on it. Go and fight for that property, because it's the exhilaration not only, but the fact that you have to fight for that property makes it feel that, and deep down that it is enough and it is the right deal for you. But remember, spend 1 hour looking at the property. Don't go analysis by paralysis, but really spend 1 hour just looking at it, doing some Google searches, getting to know your tenant, reading through the important things about your lease, and then put your foot on the accelerator. And remember, the acceleration is not do it with blind faith, but acceleration is also making a decision that, yes, 70% of this deal stacks up, or maybe sometimes for you, 60% of the deal stacks up, and then you work out the rest through due diligence. Because remember, when you sign that contract, you can put clauses in the contract where it's subject to due diligence phase, subject to finance. So you know that once you get into this property, you're actually just literally holding the property with a deposit, and you don't have to be worried about immediately it becomes unconditional, and if any of the things you find, it all of a sudden you can't go back on it. So it still gives you an out. But if you don't put your foot on it, if you never make the offer, you won't be able to capture and grab that property. And it's really important to take that property off the market, then do your research rather than the other way around. Because if you line up all your ducks, what's going to happen is you're going to lose that property again and again. I have seen people lose properties in 18 months, 2 years, and they have not been able to capture that property. So you have to be able to put your foot on the accelerator when something is 60-70% sure. So until next time, when you look at a property, please do not go out and think, I need to go and line up all my ducks. I need to make sure the valuation matches up. I need to make sure that the due diligence all matches up. I need to make sure there's no capital works. Rather than that, make a decision when you are 60-70% sure, and then do the rest afterwards. So I hope this has been a great tip. It's been a fantastic time to be able to bring this to you. Wish you all the best in 2020. And if you want to find out more about what I do, how I can help you through the journey, go to helentarrant.com, send us an email, and let us have a conversation. Bye for now.